Good morning. It is December the 18th, and this is our 15th Advent meditation, our third week of doing this. Next week, of course, by this time it'll be Christmas Eve, and Advent will have ended, but obviously not the truth of all that we've talked about. Been some snowy days here in this neck of the woods, 40 inches of snow. So maybe you have nothing better to do than to listen to my Advent meditation today. I am going back once again to the Common Prayer book, A Liturgy for Ordinary Radicals. I'm actually not reading so much of a meditation in their daily devotions, daily meditations, but their introduction to December. The liturgical calendar actually begins with Advent, and then obviously as the beginning of things, and then moves on through the year. This is entitled Locating Our Lives in the Abandoned Places of the Empire. Everything in our society teaches us to move away from suffering, to move out of neighborhoods where there is high crime, to move away from people who don't look like us. But the gospel calls us to something altogether different. We are to laugh at fear, to lean into suffering, to open ourselves to the stranger. Advent is the season when we remember how Jesus put on flesh and moved into the neighborhood. God getting born in a barn reminds us that God shows up in the most forsaken corners of the earth. Movements through church history have gone to the desert, to the slums, to the most difficult places on earth to follow Jesus. For some of us, that means remaining in difficult neighborhoods that we were born into, even though folks may think we are crazy for not moving out. For others, it means returning to a difficult neighborhood after heading off to college or job training to acquire skills. Choosing to bring those skills back to where we came from to help restore the broken streets. And for others, it may mean relocating our lives from places of so-called privilege to an abandoned place to offer our gifts for God's kingdom. Wherever we come from, Jesus teaches us that good can happen where we are, even if real estate agents and politicians aren't interested in our neighborhoods. Jesus comes from Nazareth, a town from which folks said nothing good could come. He knew suffering from the moment he entered the world as a baby refugee, born in the middle of a genocide. Jesus knew poverty and pain until he was tortured and executed on a Roman cross. This is the Jesus we are called to follow. With his coming, we learn that the most dangerous place for Christians to be is in comfort and safety, detached from the suffering of others. Places that are physically safe can be spiritually deadly. I'd like to read that last part to you again. He says this is the Jesus we are called to follow. He's just described a Jesus who knew suffering, was considered an outcast by many, who ministered to the least of these. This is the Jesus we are called to follow. With his coming, we learn that the most dangerous place for Christians to be is in comfort and safety, detached from the suffering of others. Places that are physically safe can be spiritually deadly. Challenging. But this is Advent. And what are we thinking about at this time of the year? We're thinking about Jesus, God, coming in the flesh, submitting himself to the care of two brand new parents under strange circumstances for them both, into running for their lives, into knowing that his life was always at stake, always at risk, as he did what he did. And he reached out and he touched the lepers, and he forgave the prostitutes, and he cast out the demons. He received all who would come to him. The problem was that those in places of comfort and position and authority were not really interested. They had what they wanted. Even in the way they prayed, in the way they gave, they had what they wanted, which was recognition of others. It is dangerous. God warned Israel as they were going to head into the promised land. He said, when you get there and you're drawing water from wells you didn't dig, and you're living in cities whose walls you did not build, basically when you get to that life of ease and everything is handed to you, don't forget me. And unfortunately they did. It is dangerous. It is dangerous to live in comfort and ease, because we forget the need to live by faith. There is no need to live by faith. We have all that we need. Let's remember the one whose birth we remember, and how he lived, and who he reached out to. He did not have a home, no place to lay his head, as he told one. Totally unlike the American dream, that, if we're not careful, captures us and keeps us from following the Lord fully. It's it's hard, I know that, and it's not what our culture says should be our goal, should be our aim, but it's what Jesus lived for. And as we think of him being born into the world and laying in that manger, and the people who were attracted to him, who the angels reached out to, people of low esteem. Let's meditate on that in this Advent season. Let's meditate on that. I put a nativity that my daughter Becca bought for me on one of her travels. I can't remember where she got it from, maybe Africa. And it's a hand-carved piece of wood that actually comes out in 3 little scenes. It's not very big. And I've set it on the corner of my desk this year with a candle in front of it. Not to worship it, but to recognize it, to stare into it, to consider that is an image, a reminder of God in human form, helpless baby, coming for us, coming to seek and to save the lost, and that's all of us. There's a lot that can be delved into here with these words from our book this morning, but it is a good challenge. It is a good challenge to ponder. Listen to what the Spirit will say to you from these words we've shared today.